Hey, in this episode I am going to do another tool review from Harbor Freight. This one is the Drummond brand submersible utility pump. Welcome to Urban Monk TV. So for those of you that watch every video that I make, I am going to get back to the Cafe Racer and some V-Strom motorcycle maintenance videos in the near future. I've got a lot of things going on right now, but I haven't done a tool review in a while, and I had an opportunity to have a need for this pump, and it's a good use. I think it's a challenging application for this tool, and thus I think should be useful to people, because most of the time people won't be asking as much of this as I am asking of it. And so in showing my particular application, my hope is that anybody with a lesser job to do will find that this is useful. So this is a 1/6 horsepower submersible utility pump. This is the kind of pump where you put the whole pump down into the water, which seems counterintuitive to a lot of people, but it is completely watertight, and yes, the 120 volt electrical goes down into your the water that you are trying to remove. So what comes in this box? I've actually got the pump out doing its job right now, and I'll show you that in a second, but simply the pump. The pump comes with a long cable already connected to it for plugging in to your regular household 120 volt 60 hertz electrical outlet and power source. And essentially, you know, this is not for very dirty water. Maximum flow for this thing at 0 feet, so that's essentially pumping horizontally, would be 1,600 gallons per hour. You know, who's going to do that? Obviously, we're always trying to pump from a lower point to a higher point, unless, of course, you are doing a pump up and then back down to the same level as the pump, you know, wherever you're draining out. Well, then it would be 0 feet, because whatever push uphill you're doing, the siphon, the gravity pull on the downhill side of that would negate the force needed to push it uphill, and that would be a 0. But in my case, I'm pumping uphill, and I'll show you that in a second, as I mentioned. What it has is your regular garden hose male connection, your NPT pipe thread, and 3/4 inch, and that's it. The maximum that this thing will pump as far as height is 25 feet. So if you need to remove water from somewhere, you know, lower than 25 feet from your drain point, then this is probably not going to do it. The reason I wanted to show my application is because I had some confusion when I purchased this as to whether or not it was going to work for my use, and you may have the same question. You know, it says that it is not for continuous use. Well, what does that mean? You know, why does the manufacturer say that? I have a long-term, like, this thing has got to run for days without stopping to pump all of the water that I need to pump. Does that constitute continuous use? I don't know. What I do know, having worked for manufacturing companies in the past, is that those kinds of disclaimers that you find in user manuals or on packaging tend to be written from the perspective of defending the company against a product claim when it fails later on. They're not written so much from the perspective of, hey, what would be useful information for our customers? it's kind of a shame that it works out that way. I mean, really what the customer wants to know is this tool going to work for me and my application? And there's so many crazy, wild applications out there that people can come up with that the manufacturers just simply can't think of everything. And they really just have to, you know, defend themselves against everything. And so they come up with kind of blanket statements like, not for continuous use. Well, so what would that mean? That would mean using this pump probably for like a fountain that's going to run for days and months and years, possibly constantly. That's what I'm gathering that means. But I am going to use it. I'll be pumping for at least 3 days. And so far so good. Let me show you how I'm using it. I am using this pump to drain a swimming pool. As you can see, my swimming pool has gotten some staining on the plaster at the bottom. I won't go into pool maintenance, but over time, as you put in additives to combat algae, those things tend to settle into the plaster and cause a staining that needs to be acid washed out. So I am draining my pool. This pool is a little over 40 years old, and so it is a big one, and it is a deep one. It used to have a diving board. There is estimated around 27 to 28,000 gallons of water in this pool. And I didn't include the water from the spa in that, which I'm also draining. And so I just have the pump at the bottom of the pool, and it is pumping. Eventually I'll have to move it to the lowest point in the pool, and there it'll be at a 9-foot depth. And as you can see, I have the hose then running up from the pump into my hose reel. You wouldn't necessarily need one of those. I just happen to. And it's coming up into this particular drain, which is about 3 feet, maybe 3 1/4 off of the ground. So when you say rise or lift, what is that distance? Is that the distance from the pump to the drain point? Or is that the distance from the water level to the drain point? It's the water level. The pump is lower than the water level, obviously, but there's no effort involved with pumping the water to the water level because gravity is pulling that water down onto the pump essentially and, you know, pushing it to the pump. So it's only from the water level up that the pump is having to exert a force. And so let's measure that distance right now and see what kind of flow we're getting. So I'm at 18 inches from the edge of the pool to the deck, and then another 34 inches from the deck to the drain point, which is a total of 52 inches or 4 1/3 feet. And so I've just got a 1 quart measuring cup here that is also roughly a liter, a little less. And let's see with a stopwatch how long it takes to fill this quart. Pretty close. I'm actually dead on 1 liter, which is slightly more than a quart, in 4.39 seconds. Let's do the math. 1 liter in 4.39 seconds. I'm going to get a conversion for liters to gallons. So we'll do this in both gallons and liters. We'll keep that metric in here just to be helpful to everybody. I'm sure the pump is sold worldwide because it's manufactured in China. It probably just has a different brand name where you are, and it's the exact same pump. Okay, so 1 liter on the online conversion here is equal to 0.264 US gallons. So, you know, I said it was a little bit more than a quart. A quart is a quarter of a gallon, or 0.25. So yeah, pretty close, 0.264. Now, let me finish out the math and we'll bring this to hours. 3,600 seconds in an hour divided by 4.39. We're going to get 820.04. I'm just going to say 820 flat. Close enough. And what is that in gallons? 216 gallons per hour. So 216 gallons per hour. Let's go back to see what they're saying on the packaging. They're saying 1,600 gallons per hour, which is a hell of a lot more. At 0 feet, they're saying at 5 feet, I should be getting 1,400 gallons per hour. At 10 feet, I should be getting 1,200 gallons per hour. 15 feet, 900. And 20 feet, 500. I'm getting 216 at a little over 5 feet. What did I say? 4 1/3 feet, right? Yeah, 4 1/3 feet. So, with my particular hose setup, and that's the other piece here, is what constriction am I putting in place by having my particular hose? I'm not using a straight hose. I'm using that hose reel, which may introduce a constriction somewhere in the joints. You know, it's got that union where it can spin around the axle of the reel. So, you know, I don't know. Take from that what you will. I'm not getting the kinds of numbers that it's saying on here, but I am pumping. So I'm going to pause the video here. It won't be a long pause for you. And I'm going to continue to drain that pool over the next couple of days. I'm on day 3, almost there. Let's see how many inches now I'm pumping up. Forgive all the outdoor noise. I'm at 84 inches, which is just 2 inches over 7 feet. And what's our water flow? .73 seconds per liter. 4.73 seconds per liter comes out to 761 liters per hour. 761 liters comes out to 201 gallons per hour. So I went from 216 gallons down to 201 gallons per hour when I've gone from 4 1/3 feet to just over 7 feet. So I'm not going to do the exact math here, but not quite a 50%, maybe a 38 to 40% increase in height, but not a 40% decrease in flow. The flow is still going quite well. So I have no doubt that by the time I get to the absolute bottom of my pool, I'm still going to be flowing fine. Now the other thing I want to say is I'm on day 3, but I have not been running this pump 24 hours a day. I can only run it for 16 hours a day because here in California I'm on a variable rate system for my electricity. And so there are 8 hours each day where my electrical rate is very high, and to incent people not to use so much during peak times. So I unplug the pump during that peak time, and I'm only running it for 16 hours, is that right? 16 hours a day when I'm paying a lower electrical rate. So 3 days of 16 hours so far, but I'm still pumping. We'll be right back with how long it totally took. Okay, many days later, like over a week, let's take a look at what our flow is like now. 5.71. Okay, so obviously I'm near the end here. That 5.71 seconds per liter translates to 630 liters per hour, or 166 gallons per hour. So we're slowing down, but we're still pumping. So that's it, you guys. I'm gonna get to painting and patching and doing all the work that I drained the pool for, but the Drummond brand or Harbor Freight sold 1.6 horsepower submersible utility pump has done the job. And while I would not call it continuous use, it was a lot of use. And so hopefully this big job of mine, it provides helpful information to you for whatever job you're considering this pump for. And again, clearly I did not achieve the kinds of flow rates that they have on the side of the box. And that may be because of my particular hose. You know, maybe this is a 3/4 inch line the whole way. And I don't even know the inside diameter of the garden hose. We know it has 3/4 inch connections, pipe thread, but you know, obviously the diameter of your path makes a difference. But it flowed and it did drain the pool. Hey, if you like what I'm doing, or if you like Cafe Racer custom motorcycles, or just general motorcycle maintenance and other tool and accessory reviews, consider subscribing and give me a thumbs up for this video. Thanks for watching.